Thank you for joining us today. I'm Bob's oldest son, Tim, and I'd like to say a few words about my dad, Robert Powers. So here we are. All of us were on this journey with Dad and Mary as Dad valiantly fought an onslaught of disease. And while we all knew this day would come, I think we all hoped it never would. His loyal life partner, Mary, bravely and gracefully at his side from the moment she could be with him to the moment she was forced to go home. The loss is much larger than any of us anticipated. And the world without Bob Powers is a world less colorful. It's a world less musical. From his boyhood in a tiny town in northern Illinois to his final days in his adopted hometown, St. Louis. And I say adopted, but he'd never admit it out loud. Dad worked hard, professionally and personally. He was an example to my brother Rich, me, and all the young people he came to make an impression on throughout his life. On November 2nd, 2016, his Chicago Cubs finally won a World Series during his lifetime. As I watched the Cubs players swarm the field after their final out, I took a deep breath and I thought, well, Dad found the love of his life. His boys are grown up, and at long last, he got to see the Cubs get the trophy. Bucket list complete. But I'm glad he got a few more years to savor it. My father loved so many things in addition to his beloved Cubs. Most especially, he loved his wife, Mary. He loved my brother and me, and my wife, his daughter-in-law. He loved his grandkids. He loved his whole family immensely. But not only that, he loved good jazz from Brubeck and Miles Davis. He loved those goofy novelty songs from the 50s and 60s like Wooly Bully by Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs. He loved to sing, despite his inability to do so, and had a tendency, when he didn't want to talk about something, to sing a response or a repetition. It drove me nuts. But now, of course, I'd give anything to hear it again. He loved good food. He loved to laugh. That laugh. And that's just the very tip of a really deep iceberg. But I have to tell you, I think Dad's strongest legacy, and the one that will remain long after Mary, my brother, or me, long after we're gone, it's what my wife described very accurately as the Bob Powers love cloud. And all of you are part of it. All of you are in that love cloud. I can say with absolute certainty that if you're watching this, you're hearing me right now, Dad loved you. Dad had the ability to accept and forgive anyone without prejudice, without a grudge, without hesitation, and love them unconditionally. He was loved by so many because he first gave love so freely. The home he shared for decades with Mary was always filled with love and good music and laughter and good food. It was a metaphor for Dad's heart because once you were in it, you felt the love, the laughter, the generosity that Dad gave without hesitation. Dad looked for the best in people, and he always found it. In addition to his family, he was surrounded by devoted friends. Friends like the adults who ministered to him in his illness and stayed at his side, to the toddler-aged children of his neighbors who just adopted the big guy like the giant, cuddly new friend that he was. Later in his life, Dad really found joy in volunteering. He loved being of service to others and gave really freely of himself. I saw it for myself when I joined him one day as he was running a computer center for a struggling North City Catholic grade school. And all those tiny kids swarming around this giant, cuddly mountain of a man. And he found a way to be kind and helpful to every one of those kids individually. He knew all their names. He knew little details about all of them. And he knew which ones he had to keep an eye on. But every one of those kids was so excited just to spend a precious hour with their beloved Mr. Powers. And it's a feeling I know all too well. It's a feeling I wish I had again. And I suppose a lot of us know that feeling, don't we? The world that Dad left behind, our world, is a world that still needs that love cloud. As the old song goes, it's the only thing that there's just too little of. Unfortunately, Dad's not here to keep it going. So, I think if you feel the need to honor my father's legacy, I'm going to encourage you, all of you, to demonstrate love, patience, understanding, and humor, just like Dad. Practice tolerance. Practice kindness. Practice being open-minded to people who are different than you. Crack a funny joke to the guy next to you in line at the pharmacy. Smile at a stranger. Wave to your neighbor, even if you don't know their name. If you follow Dad's example, you'll know it eventually. Open your heart, and it'll be filled with a loving and supportive community, just like all of you were for Dad. I'm going to miss him every day. But I carry his legacy of love, and tolerance, and understanding, and humor. Don't even get me started on Dad's sense of humor. He was the funniest person I have ever known. And I'm going to carry that legacy into tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after that. And Dad would want me to encourage you to do the same thing. So, I love you, Dad. Tell Grandma I said hello.